Greetings, you are listening to Change Radio News. Today is Friday, the 31st of October 2025, and the news read by Olive Rujizo. The headlines: President Chamisa says election fraud weakens democracy. Mliswa accuses Chiwenga's wife of running parallel intelligence unit, and Zimbabwean youth called to defend constitution as Gen Z rises in Africa. And now for the news in detail. President Nelson Chamisa has renewed his criticism of the 2023 elections, saying unresolved electoral issues continue to weaken Zimbabwe's democracy. He insists that political legitimacy and transparency are key to national stability and economic recovery. He also mocked the recent power cut during the President Emmerson Mnangagwa's State of the Nation address, saying it symbolized national dysfunction. He accused the government of corruption and mismanagement, adding that the crisis has reached even Parliament. His remarks have struck a chord with citizens frustrated by daily hardships and poor governance. In a fiery outburst, Themba Mliswa has accused Vice President Constantino Chiwenga's wife, Minnie-Baloyi Chiwenga, of running a parallel intelligence structure and called on Mnangagwa to act. Analysts say Mliswa may be seeking favor or business opportunities, while observers point to a double standard, noting the Mnangagwa's son, Major Sean Mnangagwa, also serves in the army. The late nationalist Dr. Joshua Nkomo once said, "The country will not die, the youth will defend it." Today, his words inspire Zimbabwean youth to peacefully defend the constitution, fight corruption, and oppose any attempts to extend President Emmerson Mnangagwa's term. Across Africa, the Generation Z is rising against political repression, injustice, and corruption from Madagascar and Kenya to Angola, Morocco, and Tanzania. In Madagascar, youth-led protests brought a military-led transitional government in October, while in Tanzania, the young people continued to protest alleged election fraud, echoing Dr. Nkomo's call for action. Residents in parts of Harare have expressed concern over the recent installation of prepaid water meters. Councillor Denford Ngadziwore told a recent council meeting that residents need clarity on the public-private partnership behind the project and the benefits they can expect. Let's hear Councillor Denford Ngadziwore as he speaks.
There might other issue, Your Worship, in chekuita ne water smart meters. In the spirit of public accountability, I also believe kuti mu budget ngazviwe clearly stated kuti water smart meters iri kuitwa between the government, council, kwete kuti na private player, no. Mention kuti ndiani, do you get my point? Pama mention the government, nga mention kuti city of Harare. In that spirit, mention futi panyayo. Reason being that US 750 million that is supposed to be paid by the resident is supposed to be clear in the budget. Kuti mari icha but how nema residents. But mari yakawanda. But it can go silent in my view. Drastic entire problem. But there is an issue that I believe the FD is supposed to respond. Could 750 water smart water meters icha badarwa how nema residents. That thing if I was really clearly stated the machine mu budget, because it's an issue that needs an answer. Because at the end of the day, currently my residents, when Maria Rubadara, so far kune mari inobhadharwa yemaretsi yemvura fixed charge, either washandisa mvura or hauna mari iyo every property owner anofanira kubhadhara. Kune mari yagara zvagara iripo iri pabudget yechikwereti chacha yewater levy. If you are aware that water levy again maresidents vari kubhilwa futi every month. So the same way as you are 750 million USD supposed to be clear kuti iri kukavwa how, so that the residents will be aware. So those questions zikaanziwa, I think I will be glad, because the residents, they will be watching what is going on. Then lastly, the answers concerning who changed what we have agreed in the joint committee.
Government has been urged to act against the trafficking of young Zimbabwean women to Russia's Alabuga Special Economic Zone, a site linked to drone production. Reports say the so-called student recruitment program is luring women across Africa through fake social media offers. Activists Linda Masarira and Effie Ncube called for tighter border controls and coordination with the African Union, saying poverty is pushing young people into exploitation. Gender activist Tando Gwiji warned that without stronger support for women and youth, many will remain vulnerable to trafficking. Government's ban on night vending has collapsed as traders across Zimbabwe continue to defy the order. The policy, introduced by local government minister Daniel Garwe to curb illegal trade, has faced strong resistance from vendors who say it threatens their livelihoods. Vendors groups described the ban as unfair and unrealistic in a struggling economy, while legal experts questioned its constitutionality. Despite authorities insisting the ban remains in force, night vending continues in Harare and Bulawayo. Economists say the failed policy highlights poor planning and warns that restricting informal trade without alternatives will worsen poverty and unemployment. Interviews for the Zimbabwe Gender Commission went underway yesterday. Among the candidates was Dr. Helen Venganai, an academic, educationist, and gender activist. Let's hear part of her contribution during the interview process. Our apologies for the lack of sound on that clip. Please bear with us as we try to resume sound on that clip. Our apologies. The National AIDS Council has intervened. I will take that again. The National AIDS Council has invested $2 million to establish a modern family blood bank and renal dialysis unit at Pariranyatwa Group of Hospitals. NAC Chief Executive Officer Dr. Bernard Madzima said the facilities will improve safe blood supply, dialysis services, and efficiency, benefiting the general population, including people living with HIV. Deputy Health Minister Slayman Kwidini praised NAC's continued partnership with government. The government has faced scrutiny over the lack of a national policy mandating discounts for senior citizens on local authority services. Legislators say elderly Zimbabweans struggle with poor pensions and rising municipal costs. Deputy Minister Benjamin Kabirika responded that while no uniform policy exists, all 92 local authorities have developed welfare measures according to their budgets. And in economic news, experts say that the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe's policies are driving persistently high interest rates. At the In Conversation with Trevor Ideas Festival in Nyanga, bankers warned that the RBZ's reserve and requirements and rules on surplus balances limit funds for lending. They called reforms and better coordination across the financial sector to ease borrowing costs. The Ministry of Transport has launched a nationwide operation targeting overloaded trucks, especially on the Bulawayo-Victoria Falls Road. Authorities warn that overloading causes road damage, raises maintenance costs, and threatens public safety. Analysts suggest installing weighbridges on highways for more efficient enforcement. And in entertainment news, Zimbabwe's 24-year-old beauty queen Tinevimbo Depute is representing the country at the Miss Earth pageant in the Philippines. The grand finale of the global environmental themed competition is set for next week. In international news, protests over disputed election results in Tanzania entered a third day on Friday with demonstrations. My apologies, I will take that again. Protests over disputed election results in Tanzania entered a third day on Friday with demonstrators clashing with security forces over alleged fraud and voter suppression under President Samia Suluhu Hassan. The unrest spread to the Namanga border with Kenya, where Kenyan protesters joined, resulting in 2 deaths from gunfire and multiple injuries. Opposition party Chadema reports at least 700 deaths nationwide. In response, the government has deployed the military, imposed a curfew, and shut down the internet. Meanwhile, the African Union and the United Nations human rights experts have urged restraint. And finally, in sports news, the Zimbabwe Football Association ZIFA president Nqobile Magwizi says the appointment of the new Warriors head coach is expected next week. The move follows the dismissal of Michael Nice last week after a series of poor results. Magwizi told Soccer Africa on SuperSport TV that the technical committee is finalizing a shortlist and the announcement will come in time for the team's Africa Cup of Nations. Preparations just over 6 weeks away. To end the news bulletin, here are the headlines once again. President Chamisa says election fraud weakens democracy. Mliswa accuses Chiwenga's wife of running parallel intelligence units. And Zimbabwean youth called to defend constitution as Gen Z rises in Africa. This concludes our bulletin for today. Thank you for listening. From myself, Olive, and the entire team at Change Radio, have a blessed weekend.